See, join channel here over on Subscribestar. Thanks everyone who's subbed over there. So I see this thing where these people in their little blog bios refer to themselves as nerds or nerdy. I'm not quite sure what that means anymore. Back in my day, it meant academic, and yeah, you might be in like chess or Lord of the Rings or fantasy and science fiction or something, but it was definitely an academic thing. And now it seems to mean like adults who are, I don't know, still into Marvel and DC, and they've got like the bookshelves. It's like the cliche YouTuber who's got all the crap in the background, like all the toys and the every Chinese cheap piece of plastic garbage that Marvel and DC and they put out. It's like they've got a bookshelf just full of that Chinese garbage. And it's like, oh, I'm a nerd because like you're an adult with plastic crap behind you in a bookshelf. Yep, that's right. Marvel and DC. I don't. I also don't know how any adult, is possibly in any way, shape, or form still into Marvel or DC in the movie universe or any universe whatsoever. Unless you're talking about enjoyment of the old stuff, fair enough. But anything modern, how? I don't see that. Anyway, so Johnny Depp's lawyers trigger the Mary Sue. And if you ask the Mary Sue if they wanted unbiased reporting and due process, they would look at you like you were crazy. Of course they don't. They want censorship and propaganda. They're horrified by the concept of an open and fair exchange of ideas, that open marketplace of ideas. They're, oh, absolutely not. They want a monologue, not a dialogue, which is, the white pill is stuff like this: is social media, alt social media, and the low cost of tech, so people can put out so many different ideas out on like Odyssey live streams are just going off these days. So this article is very careful to not actually defame anyone. So she ends up not really saying anything. I mean, even the title itself is it's, I don't know what you call it. It's an emotive title to get you to not really say anything, but to let you know where she stands and where she wants you to stand. She goes, "Really, NBC recruiting the face of Johnny Depp's legal team." What do you're saying that you're framing that as that's some kind of negative, but at no point in the article do you, and you have a little bit of an awkward picture of her making a little funny face, but at no point in the article do you ever point to anything that's probative and relevant to reaching a conclusion that would back up what you're implying, because you don't have anything you can point to. So Depp and Heard had some legal issues. Perhaps you've heard of those if you're following, if you're a Pirates of the Caribbean fan. Or was she is she in? I don't think there's as many fans of her because like what was she's in? What, Aquaman was her last movie? What a forgettable movie that was. You watch half of that and you're like, oh, I fell asleep during it. Is that supposed to happen during movies? No, like, you're not supposed to fall asleep during action adventure movies. That's a bad sign. So they had some legal issues because she went in the public and she just said stupid things. Like, you're going to get sued for defamation because the victim has no choice. He has to sue you when you're very clearly in a public relationship and you're making defamatory statements of fact about your paramour. What did you think was going to happen? Like, very very obviously, you're pointing to this guy as the person who you're making these statements about. He has no choice but to sue you for that. And it went back and forth, but Johnny Depp won more in the end. And I'm not a fan of either one of these people. It's like it's a case of both people can be horrible people, but you still have to. You're not allowed to defame people. That's like, you can't have a society that moves forward where people are just completely based in emotion, which is kind of where we are these days. But every once in a while, the court will do the right thing. But even though the matter has been legally settled, that's not good enough for the idiots at the Mary Sue, and they are idiots. They both got their day in court. They settled the matter, but for some reason, the Mary Sue is on the side of Amber Heard even after she lost, which is the issue, that the concept of due process isn't something that these witch trial lovers respect. Heard is a woman who defamed Depp, and they still want, he's the victim in this case, and they still want her to win even after she lost, even after the thing was adjudicated before a bunch of people who said they were going to give it the best shot they could give it. When a woman makes the accusation, then they believe her. And it started with the asinine concept of believe victims, some hashtag on Twitter, which sort of pleads the conclusion, because the victim is alleging that they were a victim of harm actually and proximately caused by another party, if you remember your tort survey law course from high school. To say believe the victim implies that there is no need for due process, that the accusation is the proof, which begs the obvious question, well, yeah, but what if the accused also says that they're the victim? Is it going to be first in time, first in right, with the Title IX stuff that was going on in colleges? The whole construct is irrational, which is why we have the concept of due process to arrive at the truth, not my subjective belief of what the truth is or the social oppression hierarchy to determine the truth. It's like justice is supposed to be blind. So one of the reasons that Mary Sue is upset, the deeper issue, is because of the bias of the NBC early reports was to support Heard. Now, the reason the globalists usually support women is because it helps to destroy the patriarchy, it destroys the family, tribalism, and nationalism. That's their goal. If Johnny Depp had a little more melanin in his skin, a little bit of a better tan, then the narrative would shift because the Mary Sue and media in general do not care about the truth or the facts. They're just concerned with pushing an anti-nation narrative. Anything that helps destroy the nation and tribalism is what they're going for. By now, you have to be aware of what kind of monster the media is. The media is not the media of even a few decades ago. It's like after Trump, 2016, the mask is off. They're nothing but partisan. So the Mary Sue is admitting that NBC was biased in their presentation of the story and that they supported that. They absolutely supported that. And they please continue your bias towards Amber Heard. Then she whines about what social media has to say about Depp and Heard. But who cares? What did Vasquez have to do with social media? She's busy doing other things. It's like you're not expected to be on Twitter 24/7. And the Mary Sue keeps using the words misinformation, disinformation. They love these. These are the globalist left's new buzzwords. They're trying to normalize the concept of there being a final arbiter of truth, the Nina Jankowicz Ministry of Truth, that there will be a government office that will determine the truth for these simple-minded cattle who need a third party. It's like two men are talking, but we need a third, the government overseer, the political commissar, to determine the truth between two people, or what may and may not be said. It's like, no, we don't need a third party. We are free men able to engage in this open marketplace. It's pure 1984 because they know that they control the derp state. It's insane when you look at Nina Jankowicz and think, why would we trust the media or government when they both have a long, long sordid history of malicious deception? What happened to the left that they seem to flip 180 degrees over the few decades? This whole criticism on Vasquez is all doublespeak implication because the Mary Sue doesn't want to get sued for defamation, so she ends up sounding like an idiot. I don't know who the Mary Sue's parent company is or what their financial holdings are, but maybe someone in the chat will know. So the whole article, she sounds like an idiot because it's all doublespeak to keep from saying actually anything that's actionable. They keep mentioning social media harassment and ignore obviously it goes both ways. Both have their fans, and like me, I'm not a fan of either one, but I am a fan of due process. Obviously, the media is taking the side of Heard, and a fair amount of people took the side of Depp, as did the court. To say that NBC is trying to expose misinformation is nonsense. NBC is the misinformation, as is all the mainstream media. Yes, that includes, what about Fox? Fox and CNN, there's no difference. I mean, it's like wings of the same bird. And when you finally come to understand that, you look at the left and right a little bit differently. Then the NBC reporter got laughed at by social media. The humanity, who were probably Johnny Depp fans, because he was in the bigger movies, so he played a very good role in Pirates of the Caribbean. But then she tries to blame that on Vasquez. How exactly is that her fault? Hiring her has upset some of the NBC folks, which is just exposing their bias. This is an L on your side, and it's weird that you don't seem to realize that this is a clear and obvious case of you showing bias. They shouldn't be on the side of Johnny Depp or Amber Heard. Just report the news in as fair and impartial, unpartisan manner as possible. And I know asking for an unbiased media makes me sound like a naive idiot. And yeah, those days are like decades gone of even having to try to have the appearance. Like the media was always left wing, but you look at the media now, like, oh, there's no hope. There's no hope for the mainstream media going forward. But you've got stuff like this. So Mary Sue is also upset that NBC fired a bunch of people. They fired people because they're lying. Fake news, that the alt-left bias fake news. They've been lying for a long time. And really in 2016, people, it's like they took the glasses off and they started to see the media just act like children. Like, oh, we had relied on this concept of open and impartial media to our detriment. But at the same time, it's like you had smartphones, you had social media apps. So it's like the same time the media was accelerating their own malicious prevarications, the alt media was popping up, and were able to get a different interpretation of the media. So it's a little bit of a more fair balance, as the people who watch TV are aging out of TV. And I know there's smart TVs and stuff, but people are like, on smart TV, you're watching Odyssey and YouTube and social media and stuff like that. You're not watching CNN and NBC so much, especially after 2020. That the audiences for the mainstream just seem to disappear, because like, now what do they have to fight about? Anyway, so the entire mainstream media is shrinking because they're just not trustworthy. I mean, how many times do you have to see CNN or MSNBC caught in a lie, like an obvious, clear lie, where they frame some argument? It's like, we need our weaves and go out to the suburbs and burn the suburbs down. It's like, oh, they edited that part out. But then you get on, YouTube and the Bit Chute, it's like, oh, here's the full video with that CNN edited. And then CNN will do a little apology. It's like, yes, it was an unfortunate mistake. It's like, yeah, but all your mistakes are biased to favor the left wing. Or there are going to be anti-white mistakes and pro-non-white mistakes. It's like every single one. Oh, yes, yes. Oh, okay. I mean, at least the mask is off and people are starting to see it. And the people who are more likely to be fooled by the mainstream media are, like I said, they're aging out of the mainstream media. So Mary Sue says that Vasquez never addressed the misinformation on social media, but she won't point out the alleged. There's a picture of her, but she won't. She is a cutie pie. She won't point out the alleged misinformation because she doesn't want to get sued for defamation. Let me explain something. The absolute defense to defamation is the truth. If the Mary Sue knew that it had the truth in their back pockets, they would be speaking it. Because if someone decided to, wrote the cease and desist letter and then followed it up with a trial, it's like, it wouldn't survive summary judgment. That means the judge would look at the pleadings in the case of defamation, and you would answer with the truth, and the judge would go, I can't, even if you're able to prove everything in the pleadings, there'd be no cause of action because truth is the defense to defamation. We can't go forward with it. That's summary judgment. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys all next episode.